And welcome, everybody, to another episode of Take 5 here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Today, what I want to discuss with you all is the Miami Dolphins special teams unit, particularly one position that the Miami Dolphins could have upgraded on, but ultimately decided that it wasn't worth the attempt. Now, this is where I start to have issues with general manager Chris Grier. I acknowledge that Chris Grier has done a fantastic job building a roster that the Miami Dolphins fans could be excited about, could be proud about. Ultimately, it got them to the playoffs, but it couldn't get them over the hump because they just didn't have the depth that other teams had. So now we're looking at the special teams unit today, and obviously, there's always the side-eye look. We're going to give special teams coordinator Danny Crossman, trying to figure out how the man still has a job in spite of the fact that his unit has been one of the weaker units on the team for quite some time. I don't understand it. Maybe Mike McDaniel likes him. Maybe there's something that we're missing. But I really feel like at this point, the Miami Dolphins need to look at any opportunity that they can to upgrade special teams. Because after last season, and particularly with punter Jake Bailey, who I understand was a former Pro Bowler with the New England Patriots, and that's probably why the Dolphins signed him, hoping that he would be able to have a comeback season. But I would also point out that the Miami Dolphins gave that same opportunity to Michael Pilardi, and that didn't work out so well for them either. And then we had the Matt Hawk era, for whatever that was worth. Matt Hawk was apparently a better athlete than a lot of these other guys because we're all never going to forget the incredible special teams touchdown that he was a part of. That was always going to be fun. It's always going to be exciting. It's going to be a fun memory in our minds. But ultimately, that didn't actually lead to him being a good punter. Now, then we got Thomas Morstead. Everybody remembers Thomas Morstead. Everybody loves Thomas Morstead. He was probably one of the best punters that the Miami Dolphins have had in the past decade. And I understand that that's not saying a lot because it's not like the Miami Dolphins necessarily want to have the best punter on the team. I understand the concept of not wanting to have to punt. But you can never, ever underestimate any particular advantage that you can possibly give yourself for any reason. Whatever it is, if it's kicker, if it's punter, if it's special teams gunner, if it's long snapper, the Dolphins went out of their way to go get Blake Ferguson to take over for John Denny, who had been the long snapper for nearly 20 years. So you can understand why there's some importance to the special teams unit. Now, I say all of this because recently news came out that Matt Araiza, the formerly known punt god, recently signed a contract with who else? The Kansas City Chiefs. The reigning Super Bowl champions, this two-time reigning Super Bowl champions now. They already had a fantastic punter, an all-pro punter in Tommy Townsend. Still young, 27 years old, and it would appear that the Kansas City Chiefs had decided, you know what? We're going to go get this kid because we think he's going to be better than the guy that we already have on the roster. Tommy Townsend is set to be an unrestricted free agent. Maybe they're looking at him and saying, you know what, we can save a few pennies here and there if we go and get this other guy who, understand this, folks. This is where my frustration comes in and why it feels like the Dolphins have been sitting on their laurels when it comes to this situation. Jake Bailey signed a 1-year contract. He is no longer under contract. His contract is up. The Dolphins easily, at any point, could have gone out and signed somebody to take over for him, somebody who has a reputation for being one of the best at what he does. Matt Araiza, when he was coming out of college, that nickname Punt God did not come out of nowhere. This man knows how to kick the football all the way across the field. You could practically get it from end zone to end zone with Matt Araiza. And that can lead to such great advantages for the defense at any given moment. If the drive stalls at the 10-yard line, you don't have to worry about whatever the other team was doing, and they're going to end up landing at the 50-yard line, and your defense has to come up big really fast. Araiza will get it all the way to the other team's 20 from your 10. That's how much of a punter that he is. And so the Dolphins, needing another punter, ultimately decided it wasn't worth it. If I'm Miami, I would have looked very hard at trying to get Matt Araiza. He had already been acquitted of everything that happened. According to the Associated Press, it would seem that he wasn't even there at the time of his alleged crime. So there was nothing left. He was innocent. What was left to discuss? The only issue I have now is where do the Dolphins go from here at punter? It can't be Jake Bailey again. If I'm Miami at this point, if you're just looking to save money, I'll go bring back Michael Turk. I feel like the only reason Jake Bailey kept the job was because the Dolphins gave him guaranteed money. So go get Michael Turk, Matt Turk's nephew. And let's just try this again. Let's see if we can find a good punter. So once again, you can follow me at Louis D. Sung, and on Twitter, you can follow me here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, as I do shows on the regular every week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., Pulse of Fins Nation. Make sure you tune in for that, and I'll see you all next time for another Take 5.